Mm. Good evening. We will let people join us, come in and get settled. We will actually start in about 4 or 5 minutes. If you like, you can go ahead and share the link to the show tonight. We have a marvelous 2 more sessions. Oh my goodness. This week has been full, just so nurturing, so amazing. So, if you want the early birds, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Just a couple of more minutes here. We always like to have our beverage. My unofficial sponsor, godismybodyguard.com. That's my daughter's brand. She might not be mad at me this week, so if she's not, go ahead and support her. Even if she is support her, whatever, right? We don't care. We don't take that stuff personally, do we, mamas? Don't mean nothing. We love you anyway. Yes. 2 more minutes. Get your notes ready. Is that the right feed? Oh, yes. Okay. 1 more minute. Beautiful Master Force coaches. People always ask me, do you have a principle that says that all Master Force coaches have to be fine? I said, I think it's written in the stars. It just shows up like that.
Moose, that is amazing because that's one of the things that I've been saying as I've been watching every night. Like, oh my God, they're beautiful.
Just like, wow, look at,
Yeah.
I totally agree. It's such an just amazing to see that. Like, and we're not making it up, it's real. So that's a good thing. Okay, it's almost 7:05. We're going to get going. 30 seconds here. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us on Ignite Your Soul Connection Summer Solstice 2023. This is day 4, and we are dealing with healing trauma. Oh my goodness, it has been an amazing conversation this entire week. My name is Mushim Soot. I am the owner of Masterforce and the founder of Masterforce International Leadership Academy. I'm also the creator of Ignite Your Soul Connection that has been running for well over 10 years now. And that's to the love and support of the Masterforce coaches who make this happen, who volunteer their time, do the research, pour their heart into sharing with you. And our only goal is to provide knowledge. Most of us don't realize how wealthy knowledge can make us. We keep thinking it's money, but it really is knowledge. You can convert knowledge and monetize knowledge all day long, okay? So we're not monetizing knowledge. What we're doing is helping you to raise your vibration. So if you started listening to us on Monday, we started talking about the case studies and what that looks like as far as trauma is concerned. And then on Tuesday, we had a conversation about the paths to healing. And on Wednesday, we had Dr. Tammy going through Master Teacher. I got so full last night that I started taking notes and doing some, I started looking at the little bitty Master Teachers. Let me look at the real small ones that I just kind of dismissed, right? It's fun, kind of fun. And then tonight, we culminate with two fabulous sister queens, and we're talking about relationships. Now, one of the things that I did notice, and this is not in our questions, but I want you all to ponder this too. We didn't have too many brothers sign up for this conversation. Okay, so think about that and see if you have some thought about it. I didn't have that revelation until this morning. Like, usually we have more brothers, but of course we have our loyal, steady Sarah, right? So tonight we're going to look at trauma in relationships. And I'm going to bring in two of the lovely Masterforce coaches. And you'll hear me say that 1,000 times because I promise you they're lovely on more than one level. But I'm going to start off by introducing our senior executive coach, Kiana Thompson. I will let you introduce yourself and tell people about why I think you're so lovely.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you, Moo. As Moo said, I'm Kiana Thompson. I'm the owner of Evolve with Kiana. It's a solution-focused therapy agency with 100% satisfaction in building quality, passionate relationships. And I'm excited to be here. I've been doing Nature Soul for quite a few years now.
Yes.
Absolutely love it. And I am really passionate about relationships. So I'm a senior coach. I'm an executive coach. I've been with Masterforce since 2014, I believe.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's been a journey. I started with Masterforce with actually a parenting class, or relationship brought me into Masterforce.
Right.
But my relationship with, at that time, my son, who was, I think it was about 5, or yeah, like about 4. He might be like 4 or
All
something.
I remember him saying was, "Thank you, Motion Suit."
Exactly. He was about 4, and he was my fire child. He's a Leo. And I was like, what in the world is happening? The old tactics isn't working, the traditional things aren't working. I'm going to literally kill him. And I called each and Debbie. I said, each and Debbie, I'm literally about to kill my son. I called her crying, and she was like, okay, give the baby the phone. And I was like, okay. I give him the phone. She talks to him, and she was like, you need to sign up for the class. You need you need to sign up. And I called Mo. I said, hey, I need the class. And so I signed up for Tao of Parenting.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been hooked ever since. I absolutely love the class. I thought the class was gonna teach me about how to, get my kids in order. It taught me how to get myself in order to be the best parent that I could be, and to heal relationships that I had with my parents and such and so forth. And then I moved into like, okay, I'm ready to be a coach. And so I got the training to be a Masterforce Life coach. And I just keep doing trainings and things like that. And I've been coaching and doing therapy. And
Well,
really,
you've been certifying coaches. You're one of my,
I've been certifying coaches.
yeah,
Yes, I've
that's right.
certified a few
Yeah,
coaches, maybe like 15, 20, somewhere around there.
yeah,
I can't
yeah.
get, I would have to like count them out, but
I love
I
it.
have created a space to help other coaches and
Yeah.
learn and certify them. So it's been wonderful, and I love it. I'm happy to be here to talk about relationships tonight.
Well, thank you. And I thank you for just really, you've shared your entire family with me. And I appreciate being able to just grow with everybody and watch. Because how old is, how old is your,
He's 16. He will be 17 August 8th. He was
oh
born on the
my,
Lions Gate, 8/8. So he'll be 17.
isn't that beautiful? Oh
It
my
is.
God. Yes. So we got him through. You didn't kill him at 4. Oh, geez.
I did it. He's still here.
Still
He's still
here.
here.
Very cool. All right, and now our next Master Force coach is Ushayas, and I we met Ushayas, I believe, on a Ignite Your Soul connection call, and I think that was about 2015, 2016. Really close, and then. Or actually, did I meet you in a class? I think I met you several times, Ushayas, before we actually hooked up, right?
The first time was with the school, why I can't remember the Wawitu school.
Okay.
And so you came there as a parenting class for the children, for the parents that attended that particular
Okay.
school. And so when I first met you, I had at that particular time, my daughter was 3. And I didn't realize at the time that I was going through postpartum, whatever,
Mhm.
stress being a mom. And so when I was in that class, I knew after class I had to have a private conversation with you. And then that I think we were out there in the middle of winter in
On
Chicago
47th Street
on
in Prairie
47th
on the
Street,
corner.
low end, but we were protected and we were warm in
Yeah.
our conversation. And
Mhm.
that spearheaded me also into going into the tower of parenting,
Yeah.
which allowed me to really see what my purpose was as a parent. Prior to that, I knew everything.
Yeah.
Let me, I knew everything. I had, master's degree, certified natural healer, had healed people for decades, did Chinese energetics, just on so many levels, spoken in many different arenas, have done corporate training for all levels of executives and all levels of employees. However, becoming a mom showed me that I knew nothing. I knew absolutely nothing. And so it humbled me in a way for me to grow. And
Mhm.
I just continually give thanks to have an open mind.
Yeah.
But it was interesting this week we say trauma, you know. And so it's like it's only trauma if you internalize it as such, right?
Absolutely.
so
That's right.
and so I realized that I was internalizing a particular face for what I thought motherhood should be like. And
Mm.
so in that face, because I was in corporate America, I was handling it, right? I was handling helping people get well and balanced. Um, but this was a new challenge that I wasn't really, I was grown up when I grew up. My family, they just made sure you ate. They didn't give us the tools,
Functional parenting.
functional parenting, but
Mhm.
they knew they gave us what they knew,
Yeah.
so that was okay.
It was
And
okay.
right, they only could give. So I just give thanks to be able to elevate our DNA to a level that can evolve instead of decreasing our our greatness, because that's what we have been doing. And so it was a depression as far as what the framework of motherhood in America was to me. And so I became a doula in order to just explore different cultures. And I knew just being in the international community, there was so many different ways on how mothers are nurtured, and they understand that if you nurture the mother, you nurture everybody. And so once I started to really get into that, and the Tower of Parenting helped me with that, I was able to take my practice to another level. So at this time, I do, speeches. I'm called to speak at different events, but I do more so private coaching and developing wellness apps in order for people to do functional things on their own.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you both so much for being here. And I am clear that people will get a lot out of tonight, just as they have the past few nights. And I really can't say enough about the topic of trauma. And I'm glad that you mentioned that it's only trauma if we internalize it. And if we notice, that's how society would have us operate. So we actually work to change the perspective, right? And that's what our work is, to actually, and that's what this conversation is about. So we're asking people to really listen, just to hear. We're not asking for agreement, for alignment, for you to believe. We're saying just listen. And then if something actually resonates with you and you want to go deeper, go ahead and research it. Or reach out to the Master Force coaches. They're all over the place, right? You can type in Master Force coaches, you'll find one, right? Okay, all right. So now, before we get in the question, would either of you want to answer my other question about why do you think the Brother Kings did not sign up for this conversation?
You know what, Mood? I do want to speak to that because I was thinking about that too, because normally it's a good mix. And then
Yep.
I know one time you did one that was you would say, like, I want men, like I want
Mm-hmm.
to do, you did
Mm-hmm.
some healing waters for men, right? This one wasn't specific, like you didn't say that, but I feel like it is. Like it was the tone of it without it being the tone. Like it's what's needed.
Yeah.
I think that people right now are in this relationship cancel toxic era, and the
Ooh.
bro podcast, the passport bros, and all of the things, and women are becoming more into their feminine energy and really independence and really celibacy and abstinence, like all type of things women are doing, right? And
Mhm.
so I think that this space was needed for women to talk about the trauma bonding, how to move on from the trauma, and when you internalize the things, right, how to heal yourself, how to take care of yourself, so that you can
Mhm.
be in a relationship, so that you can hold space for men, and our sons included, right? Not just our lovers, but our sons as well. And so I think that this was like an unwritten, an unwritten space
I can
for women
hear
to
that.
teach.
Yes, I can hear that. Yashaz, do you want to add to that? You have any insight in that too?
I do. It's interesting you say that. We in my government, we celebrate. We call we are Nama, and part of our DNA that we celebrate, we are is an acronym, and so the N is Nuberians, and that represents our galactical ancestors. And so we honor the new moon and the full moon.
Mm-hmm.
And so we do celebrations. So we did one on the new moon on the 17th. And it was interesting. They said that the way Saturn is coming in, um, there's a lot of male domestic violence all the way up until the full moon. And that people should be mindful of the energy that is played towards men during this time. So it's interesting, uh, the correlation of the energies that, even though we've been taught, oh, look at the stars. Well, the stars tell us what energies are coming into play
Yeah.
and different things that we should be mindful of. So it's a really aggressive energy. So during the new moon, when we had our solstice event, I'm sorry, not the solstice event, but the new moon event,
Yeah.
it was directed to just really check yourselves,
Mm.
because not only are they putting in negativity, Saturn's coming in to just do a protection and a ruling, but because the earth is unstable and she's working on her balancement, we're in the cusp of chaos and bliss. And so the masculine energy is under pressure right now. And
Yeah.
so without them actually having the tools, for us to give them, they only have what's stored in their DNA. And most of the times it's just like, what do I do? Or and so they're saying to watch for that during this next 2 weeks. So I
Wonderful.
that's a probably a definite reason.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you both spoke to that, because what just occurred to me, one of the things that I do with all of the Brother Kings who are in my cipher is I speak to their soul and their spirit. I know that we have a connection. If I've had a child for them, we're connected. If I've loved them and made love to them before, we're connected. If I've witnessed any type of growth or supported them in their growth, we're connected. So what we can do as women is we can send energy to the men in our cipher. And it doesn't mean that you have to love them, like them, agree. Because my ex, who, is going to always be my ex, I send him energy because he's still a part of the family,
Mhm.
right? So we make sure that we're sending energy to those people who are extended from us, because what they do, their vibration and their frequency does reverberate to us,
Indeed.
right? So yeah, so thank you. And just in you saying that, I'm going to make sure that from this point up to the full moon, that I send extra energy to those men. So thank you.
Another thing I wanted to add to that, the new moon that just come in is also called the buck moon, because the deers, they start to grow their antlers and they call them buck.
Wow.
So, it's again, the male dominance is like all over the place right now.
Listen, we almost hit one of those bucks on the motorcycle the other day.
Oh
Let me tell
no.
you.
Oh
I'm
no.
talking about the divine force of the universe was all up in that plane.
Mm.
I was not afraid. There was no accident, but we saw the teen deer run across. I was like, "Ooh, this Brother King can ride this bike." Okay, thank you, Father. We safe, you know. So see all of that. You all, I'm telling you, we look for the signs for a reason.
Mhm.
We are connected. We are listening, and see how you brought all of that full circle. That's what I love about us. I'm telling you. Okay. Listen, we got to pay attention because we have questions.
Of course.
Okay, so here it is. Would you say that mostly everyone on the planet is actually recovering from something at this very moment?
Yes.
Okay, what would you say? Speak on it. Give me something.
Yes, I do believe that. And so even if they don't acknowledge it, even if they are like not dealing with it, everyone has been through some traumatic experience. And again, it's all about perception and how we perceive it. It doesn't have to be the exact same trauma as somebody else's. And they could have experienced the same thing, right? Like it could be a brother and sister grew up in a domestic violence household. Just example, right? I heard domestic violence. The sister might have a different perception and different trauma than a brother. And they could have saw the exact same thing. It's all about how we internalize it. But whatever we we have something, right? Because the earth is a school. So
That's
everyone who has who has come here on this existence at this time is here to learn something. And trauma is a part of our learning. And
Mhm.
so you have to recover from something, right? So that you can know. One of the things I love to do is progressive muscle relaxation. And the
Yes.
reason why I love to do it is because you have to tighten up the muscle to even understand what a relaxed muscle is. So
Yes.
most people walk around tight and don't even know they're tight. Most people
Don't
walk
even know they
around
type.
trauma
Jaws all squeezed up.
and don't realize it. People walk
Right.
around with trauma and don't realize that they are because they're holding it like this all the
Mhm.
time.
Yes.
And so unless someone actually like says, "Hey, relax that," you're like, "Oh, whoa, I didn't realize I was holding that trauma." Right? That's why we have coaching. That's why we have therapists. That's why we have these different tools and modalities, YouTube, and all of the things, right?
That's right.
To figure out what's going to be happening because it actually is a school. So I do believe everybody is recovering from something.
Yes. Yes. Very well said. What about you, Shez? What do you have on this?
Well, the thing is, I agree. I agree. Everyone is definitely suffering from something.
Recovering, not
Recovering.
suffering. Suffering to suffer is a choice.
Indeed,
Okay.
indeed.
Okay.
I,
Recovering.
I sit corrected.
Yeah. Okay.
Uh,
Just because I'm being,
that's
meticulous. Yeah. With that
the
language.
words matter. The
That's right.
words matter because it has a certain vibration in it. So it's fine to make sure it's clear the level of where you have to go, because suffering, of course, is different from recovering. But even if it's not yours that you're recovering, you could be recovering from your ancestors. One of
Mm.
the things I've realized, had to realize, and really switching how I, habitually move or operate, because things that were put in our past, our parents only taught, and they only taught what they knew.
That's
So
right.
a lot of our culture is bombarded with Willie Lynch residue, and
Hmm.
so we're recovering from that. Some of us are recovering in orthodox ways, and some in unorthodox ways. And some of those ways can present itself as trauma, because if you haven't dealt with it, we are here to help people guide through those particular issues. You might be suffering or have a traumatic experience from another lifetime. I have someone close to me that actually astro projected to their great grandmother that was tortured.
Wow.
And so they had to release, they were responsible for releasing that curse and the torture and torment for that. So it's a lot that are doing, so recovering from
Yes.
500 years. We're
Yeah.
recovering from 500 years.
Well, isn't it said that when you actually do the work of healing, that you literally create
Mhm.
healing 7 generations back? And
Indeed.
that's because you're clearing at the cellular and DNA level.
Mhm.
And one of the things that we teach in the comedic sciences in our course is that we actually honor the work of the ancestors because they get to learn through us as we continue to live too. So we get to be the light to those that came before us as well. And that's why we do honor and pour libation to let them come and see what we're doing, watch what we're doing, and see that we have learned and we are progressing
And leveling up.
and leveling up and
Yes.
aligning.
Yes.
Yes, and remembering who we are.
And that's probably the biggest key. We're recovering from the Piscean age. We're
Mm,
all, we're all recovering from keep having these masks on. We're all recovering from uh, being so caught up with these meat suits. We're recovering from not being light beings. So,
yeah.
as we continue to raise the vibration, and you'll talk about that more tomorrow, as far
Mhm.
as being grounded in order to see what you need to see to recover in a more joyful way.
Mm.
because recovery, some healing is not always pretty,
It's never pretty.
I was gonna say, wait, it's never, but whoo, baby, you can, yes, it's matter of
but
fact, it's
when
ugly.
but
It's
when you
downright ugly.
when you shed, I mean, one month I shed it so much.
Yeah,
I shed it so much, and it was like the release was beautiful. You
yes,
know what I'm saying? It's like when you release, and us as females, we release not just for us. We can tell, some of us can tell that we're not just releasing for us. It's like, what are you just doing in your room all day? It's like, well, what are you all? It's like I'm recovering and I'm releasing, not just for me, but we have a responsibility of, as melanated uh mothers, we are the extensions of Mother Earth, so we have a greater task as far as in this recovery that is taking place. And so I am delighted. I've learned how to be joyful in this. It's a celebration.
that's right, that's right, that's
An
right.
absolute celebration.
So let's look and define some of what we would say. What would we call are aspects of a traumatic relationships? Let's see if we can name some so that people can see what we're identifying as we have this discussion. What would you say, Keanu? If you had three things in a traumatic relationship, what would you say would be there?
Definitely abuse.
Okay.
So whether it's physical or mental, any type of abuse.
Mm-hmm.
Codependency.
Codependency. Yes. Yeah.
Um, and control.
Oh, good. Yes. And yeah. All right. So abuse, codependency, control. What would you add to that, you shares?
Well, she took some of the ones I said. I was like, but I think, there's different levels to each one of those. And I think one of the main things is that it can be passive on each one of those, and it also can be right in your face.
Oh,
And
yes.
so a lot of times, when you don't really understand, have emotional intelligence to
Hmm.
understand how those three different dynamics that you mentioned affect you, because people come and, try to exert their self, you know, um, because it's all about, let me see if I can control you because I can't control myself.
Well, before you do that though, because we
Okay.
can get into each one, I wanna add some texture, right?
Okay.
So we said abuse, codependence, control, and I would add poor communication, withhold, and possessiveness.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay. So now when you're looking at that, we can actually see all of those. We can see that in a parental relationship, right? Can you see that with parents who are abusive, who create themselves as codependent to their children, who are controlling, who lack communication skills, who withhold love or affection, and then tend to say, "This is my child. You don't tell them nothing," right? You all see that? Because, and the reason I'm pointing that out is because most of the time women actually think that their first abusive relationship was with their mate,
Hmm.
Mm-mm.
right? But they don't realize that that abuse was cultivated in the environment that they grew up in. Or it could have started where? In the womb. Remember, we started talking about some of that earlier this week. So when you look at those aspects, you have that energy that's already forming, right? Now imagine you have mother like that gets married or goes into a relationship and create children. What's going to show up?
The same
All of
cycle.
those things. Whatever you created. So it's just like oh, I forget the name of the show that the kids used to watch. Dragon Ball Z, I think. And they would make like the ball, right? The energy ball. And it keep getting bigger. So you got like this small ball that's getting started that you have been creating, you created with your parents, your master teachers, right? And then you go get into a relationship and that ball grows. And then you have kids, and now it's like this big old thing. And before you know it, the energy has sucked everybody into a whole new vortex of trauma.
Yeah.
And so that's, yeah, all of those things, it just keeps growing. If you don't do anything about it, keeps growing, and you trauma bond. So the mate that you pick is triggering the trauma that you have already created, and vice versa.
Yeah.
So most of them, oh, he fine, she fine, I love them, and I want these sex is great, they wonderful, they got this and they got that. But really what it is your trauma. Your trauma, you're crazy and he's crazy. Baby said, boop, this what we supposed to be at. This
And you know what's so, and it goes back to what you said before. This is Earth School, so quite naturally we would attract each other, right? Because we got something
exactly.
to learn. But we don't stop and learn. We start blaming.
Yes.
So
We start blaming. It's
that was the
everybody's fault but
norm.
our own.
That was actually the norm in our households, again, with the Willie Lynch residue,
Yeah.
as far as being sarcastic in the household, not realizing how that affects a child.
Most people don't realize that sarcasm is a form of abuse.
Hmm.
It's
I
inauthentic. Sarcasm is inauthentic self-expression.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's definitely a deflection, right? Like it's
Yeah.
definitely a person that's trying not to deal with what's
What's
present.
real? What's right there? What it's not clear communication. It falls under
Hmm.
poor communication. It,
Mhm.
and it's kind of like I'm not really connected to you. I'm speaking at you.
Hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
And when you grow up in that type of environment, you think that's normal.
You think it's
When
normal?
you grow up and go outside, you realize, and when you communicate with people, people don't want to deal with you. And you like, okay, so what's the problem? Not realizing that you grew up in a quote unquote normal where communication is actually is not honoring the person that you're talking to, and you're not honoring yourself,
Mm.
just based off of, again, with the Willie Lynch residue. We've had so many things that were trauma being normal in the household. Now we're, able to see how we can move from that.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. Now, do you think people recognize themselves as traumatized, or do they, because see,
No.
but see, I want you to see something you say, as you've said Willie Lynch a couple of times.
Mm.
And that's one of my concerns, is that we position ourselves to be, what is it? It's almost like it's dismissive,
Right.
right?
Like
Oh,
it's okay.
yeah.
It's acceptable. No, well, I say getting rid of the Willie Lynch residue,
No, no,
because
I know what you're saying, but I'm saying with other people, if I ask the question, do they recognize themselves as traumatized? It's like, no,
well,
because,
sometimes they do now. They
okay,
don't know if you've all everyone's using the word I'm triggered, I'm triggered, I'm triggered. Everybody is using that trigger word, right? And so they recognize that something or someone has made me feel a certain way. So, but I think that's the surface, the beginning level of what really needs to happen there.
I agree, because because before you were triggered, you had no feelings at all. So
Exactly.
sometimes we have to get triggered to realize, oh, ouch, that hurts. And now, if you can ouch, that hurts, and go to work on it, that would be fine. But what people are doing with triggers now is,
Yeah.
again, blaming.
That's what I was going to say. I want to speak to that because I don't think a lot of people know they're traumatized, right? I've had clients many of years, and I have quite a few sit in my chair, and I'll ask my preliminary questions. Do you have you had any abuse, like sexual, physical, whatever, any alcohol, drugs, anything like that? And everybody's like, no, I never. Oh, my parents were great, they never abused. And then we're talking, they're like, oh yeah, this one time my dad punched me, walked over and punched me in my face after I said something smart. I bust my lip. And
Trauma?
I'm like, oh, so wait, back up, because I'm going back in my notes and say, hey, you said it wasn't no physical abuse. She's like, oh no, that's what my dad did.
Right.
That was her normal.
That
was her normal. So people don't always realize, because the trauma is normal.
It's
good to hear
normal.
somebody else say, that's not normal. That's not what dads do on a regular basis, right? They're not busting their daughters' lips. So they don't know. And so I think that, I think a lot of people are walking around traumatized and don't know they're traumatized.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're walking around very angry, very bitter, very hurt. And that's why we have a lot of stuff that I think that is going on, because people are hurting, and hurt people hurt people.
Yes.
And it's easy to blame. It's easy to stay in that space. It's not easy to do the work. The work doesn't always look pretty, and you have to take some accountability when you do said work, even if it's from childhood trauma, relationship trauma, whatever trauma.
Past life trauma.
Past life trauma.
It's showing up in your space.
And it's showing up. Exactly. You have to take some accountability for it and do the work. And so it's easy to wear blindness and be ignorant to your trauma. But some people honestly are ignorant because they literally just don't know.
They just don't know. And the triggers, I agree with you, Shaz, is something that has to happen for the beginning work to start. They may not have the language yet. Right.
Well, what is a trigger? What would we know on a trigger? A gun, right? It's a trigger to ignite, right? So one of the different things, it triggers your nervous system.
Yep.
So words, people say, oh, words can't hurt me. That's not true. Because there's a vibration in those particular words. And so people's nervous systems are triggered. And so when you have 3 stress levels in your eyes, that's a nervous breakdown. So what happens when the nerves break down? You're not able to process. You're not able to communicate. So many of us, as you say, are walking around with dysfunctional nervous systems to even recognize, that they're sick, in people's eyes. So it's like, how can you come to balance?
But that's exactly, Dr. Tammy spoke to some of that last night, when we started speaking about detoxing and fasting and watching how we eat, because that actually does distort our nervous system as well. All of the chemical imbalances in food are harmful. So when you start detoxing, guess what you're going to get more of? Triggers.
And that people are being triggered, but if they don't understand that they're being triggered, all it's going to do is keep them in fight or flight.
Yes.
So you just have more people fighting or running.
That's right.
And people say these words, narcissist, trigger, like
even like that. Right. Yeah.
And so all these words are real cute to say, and it's what's culturally like the thing or whatever is hip, is vibing. But actually, when people are being triggered, they don't even know that they're being triggered or what to do with it. And that's, again, why we have so much violence, so many kills, so people running away, committing suicide, leaving their families. We're like, well, what happened to this person? They just left. Their nervous systems are all jacked up. They're being triggered left and right. They don't know what to do. And so then we have what we have. We have
what we have. Let me tell you what Relana said. She said they are weaponizing their triggers to avoid accountability and self-worth.
Period. That accountability piece. I'm telling you, we have not been taught at all about self-worth, especially as Black women. I have to help so many women. I had to help myself first and foremost.
Yes.
Let's help so many Black women with the self-worth conversation. And I've been doing more job coaching. And so I realized that it's not even just melanated women. It's women.
Period.
I'm helping a lot of women with the self-worth conversation. They talked about negotiation. Most men get higher pay because they're men. We know that part. But because they negotiate and they ask. Women get less pay because they're women, right? But because they don't ask, they don't
Don't act.
negotiate.
And they don't go
Word.
in. They don't go into it and see. I
Knowing their
can't.
worth.
That's
Yep.
well. It's hard to say knowing your worth because most of us were not raised in a conversation of worth,
Of worth. Yep.
right? So it almost like you have to create your worth. You see
And
the
you do.
difference? Yeah.
Mhm.
Because if we go from, and I want to say this little piece because Louise Hay pointed out that tumors, which most women of color get, the fibroids,
Mhm.
fibroid tumors come from lack of being able to give your gifts to the world.
Mm,
Mhm.
I could definitely see that.
Can
I
you
can
see that?
definitely see that.
But
Because
guess
it's
how?
all reciprocity. So if you're just sitting there holding
Yeah,
it,
and you just want to give. You just want. So all of those gifts grow. They take up residence inside of you, and all you do is sit there and wish that you could. But see, here's the thing: we can literally give our gifts and stop thinking that they have to be monetized.
Mhm.
yes,
Do you
yes.
see the difference?
Or I think you and Tammy was talking about shame too.
Yes.
So we have to also, so while you get out of the shame conversation of our gifts. So while I was in Colombia, they had like a huge persecution of witches, brujas, right? And
Yes.
so while I was there, I was like, ugh, like I felt the energy. I like knew it until the guy was telling me the stories or whatever. And a lot of Colombians would call me bruja. And so I realized there that there is a lot of shame and fear around our gifts, our natural abilities as healers, as melanated women, no matter what it is, whether it's
Yes.
tarot reading,
Yes.
herbs,
Yes.
whatever, right? Laying hands, all of the things. Unless
All
you're
that's
doing
labeled
some
as
type of
witches, and all of us have been labeled as witches and bitches. We
exactly
don't care.
like
So
something as simple as
right.
making the super fresh herbs to heal, right? Like
That's
we know
right.
how to put these herbs together. We're gonna put these
That's
hands, we're gonna
right.
give you this soup, and you're going to be better. And we have been persecuted for this for so long, and so we have a lot of shame and guilt and fear around our gifts. And so it doesn't surprise me that as melanated women, we're holding our gifts. And now we're in a society where it says you have to monetize, you got to make money,
Right.
right? So if I do have a gift that I am willing, that is acceptable, that I can share. So that's just like cooking is one of the ones that's like easy, more acceptable. So if I am a chef, if I am a healer with food, I have to monetize this thing because this society said to me, I bought into it because I'm here, that we have to make money, we have to do these things. And so I'm still not freely sharing my gifts completely, right?
And you are. Well, I'm going to say there's, because you can,
Yeah, because the law of
levels
compensation
to
says
it.
you get
That's right.
compensated.
That's
I'm
right.
with it. I don't play
That's
no
right.
game.
Yes.
Law of
Yes.
compensation say you put out work, you're going to get paid. And so it's an energy exchange. But if you don't understand your gifts and you don't understand the law of compensation, the energy exchange, then you are just monetized. Like we already said, all compensation isn't monetary, right?
That's right.
So so I understand like if I put out work, I'm gonna get compensation. I understand that. But if
Yes.
you don't understand these things, you don't understand your gift, and you're sitting on shame and guilt, and you're creating fibroids instead of creating love, then you're going to get a different outcome.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. What were you going to add to that, you shares?
I wanted to say, you all sparked something in the conversation when we talk about the whole aspect of control and us being accountable. When you think about, we weren't taught how to take control of our own contracts, in the physical. So if we didn't know that, and I'm not going to get into all that, sovereignty and that conversation about the birth certificate, but it is relative as far as being able to control your person, being able to control everything. So if you have control of it, brought up in your household, learning how to control your person, then you'll be accountable for those things. So if we had no accountability for our own person and our own how we're living, how can we be accountable moving forward in anything? So the structure of how we were set up was to, in a sense, I've evolved my thinking, in whereas this is Donkey Kong, it's like, okay, we came, I said I was gonna come here. This is 6,000 years, me and some of my peeps, we came here in an Aquarian age, and now we have an opportunity to uplift. Mother Earth needs our help to uplift. So now in that, everybody that comes in my frequency, I choose on how I determine that vibration, whether it's a trigger or if it's a glimmer. So that was one of the things, we keep talking about triggers, but in relationships, we also have glimmers, like what gives us excitement. So we have so many different things, and we're cleansing. And that's one of the main reasons why we're talking about it this whole week, because everybody is off balance. And we're here to help bring in the balancement of it. But until we can take really, one of the things, us as Nama, our affirmations, everything is about know yourself. Can't do anything until you know yourself.
Okay, wait a minute. Before you do that,
Okay.
that's going into the next question. That's
Okay.
But
Yeah,
I love
yeah.
I love the two things you just brought out, because sovereignty, even if we don't understand the language of the land of sovereignty, and we do need to research and get into that, we still need to own sovereignty within ourselves. We really have not been sovereign about how we're governing this energy field. We have still been giving up that power, right? So even before we start looking at, oh, how do I govern and control, the essence of me and my land and all of that, we have to really understand that we have the right to do that. And you don't have to ask anybody's permission to do that. And that's where the challenge is that many of us keep thinking, oh, I need to ask Massa, can I do this? No, you need to get some knowledge so that you can go down the path that's going to help you do that. Massa is not going to give it to you or point you in that direction. So sovereignty and then glimmer. I like glimmer because I tend to be a glimmer type person.
I concur.
So I like the glimmer. So we're definitely going to keep doing that. So now the question is, how do we support others in healing or working through their trauma? And I mean support, because everybody is not going to become our client, are they? Everybody, even our clients, aren't going to always listen to us.
I just said that today.
You gonna pay me and still not do what I say, and then come back the next week and think I have another solution.
Yeah, I was just speaking to that earlier. I was just saying how it's so many different levels to my spiritual journey. Like when I first started, I was like, oh my God, I want to teach everybody and I want to save the world, right? And then, now I'm like, I can hear trauma and I can hear whatever and I can see it. And I just like, well, did you have a good time? Okay. Like my friend was talking about her mom. He was like, oh, I bought this $3 donut. She's like, oh my God, Mom, why you buy this donut? And I said, well, why not? She wanted it. Why? Like you just come like as a spiritual coach now, I'm such in a different place and letting people be on their journey and no rescuing. And I think the most important thing that I could do for anybody in relationship with, or it's the world, my clients, whatever, is to maintain and raise my own vibration. Mind my business.
Mind my business. Yeah. Let me leave this glimmer with you.
Let me leave a glimmer. Exactly. Leave a glimmer. Don't hold no attachment to that glimmer. What you do with it is what you do with it. What you don't do with it is what you don't do with it. You can say, oh, she's talking. Oh, she popping them cards again, her crazy stuff. I'm gonna say whatever. And I'm gonna say, yep, you're right.
You're right. You're right.
You're right.
I clearly get the part in the Matrix where the Oracle is in the kitchen smoking her cigarette
Yeah.
and cooking her, making her cookies. That's what I'm doing most of the time.
Yes, like everything going on around the world, right? Like everything is going
Yep.
on. People are like, did you see this or did you see that? And they're talking about the things, and I'm like, I just came out the gym. I got my dunk play. I'm about to go live. Like I'm doing the thing.
I'm not looking at that. That is
at
not.
all.
Yeah.
No, it's not a good use of my energy.
No.
And so I've learned that the best use of my energy is to maintain and raise my own vibration. The people who I need to sow seeds into, I will. There are times when universe is like, go do this, say this to this person. I'm like, I don't want to talk to this person because I don't even know this person. We in a grocery store or something. I'm like, hey, how you doing? And then we start talking, right? And I'm like, oh, okay, I see what you did there. I get why she talks, right? But so unless God is telling me to go talk to somebody, I'd be like, no. I'll be like, I'm dapping you up. You ate the $3 donut. Was it good? Did you enjoy it? It's so good. Have it. Like we just do. I think a lot of people and even light workers do the world a disservice by trying to like shame and guilt people for their decisions that they make.
That's right.
So if they
enjoy that,
enjoy it. Enjoy the decisions that you make. And you know, and let that be that. And the people who are attracted to you will, client or relationship or whatever, they will be there. And I really believe in demonstration, the modeling. So maintaining and raising my own vibration is definitely going to be the best way for me.
Wonderful. What would you add to that, Nina Shaz?
You know, it's been an interesting just going through learning how to all the things that I've learned, putting it in the synergy. And I think the most important thing that I've learned is to create my boundaries, because not having boundaries is what was stressing me out. You know, wanting to be liked, wanting to please everyone. And it's like, that was not my purpose. That was not my purpose at all. So once I learned, everyone has to understand what their level of how to honor themselves, how to respect themselves. And so once I started learning that, I became my emotions on how different things came to me, like the same situations, I would react differently to it just because I have my boundaries in place now. So it has a lot to do with understanding your worth, understanding how much you need to do here, you know, as opposed to what other people think you should do. And only you should know that. You know, there's so much information. You know, you can call this person and get this coach, but until you sit with yourself, no one can coach you into sitting with yourself. No one can coach you as far as what your responsibilities are here. And until you really understand that, then you're going to keep coming into the same cycles if you're not willing to level up.
Different names, different situations, but the same.
And say, what I say, same poo, different smell.
Oh, wow. You know, so when you spoke to something, I thought of, you've heard me talk about The Road Less Traveled by M. Scott Peck. And in one of his chapters, he talks about neurosis. And I know that young children that come through families where they've been neglected or where the adults have not been responsible for taking care of the household, children tend to feel responsible for everything that goes wrong. So they grow up being neurotic. and they feel guilty every time something happened. They feel like, oh, I did that. Oh, I did that. And I remember feeling that way in college. Like every time something happened, I felt like I did something wrong. I didn't have anything to do with it, but I still felt, because it's a form of anxiety from that environment, that frequency, always pensive, and something's wrong, something's wrong. And until you shares, until we sit with ourselves and really see where that is coming from, because all it's demonstrating is that we're not present in the moment. We're still thinking thoughts back there, thinking thoughts in the future, worried about everybody else. But the only concern, and Kiana said it, is what am I doing here? What is my vibration about? What am I responsible for? And at some point, I remember telling somebody asked me to do something, and I said, oh, that's not good use of my time. And they looked at me like, what you? I said, well, it's not. I said, that's just not, good use of my time. It's, even if I would love to do it, it's not good use of my time. And so, no, that's what the boundary looks like. You know how your energy and time needs to be used. When you start doing that level of self-worth, you won't continue to work a job that you hate. You won't continue to eat food that destroys your body. You won't continue to be in abusive relationships that do not honor your soul. You can't, because it's not good use of your time
Or your energy.
or your energy.
And your energy is your currency.
That's
So
right.
you want to make sure you know how are the currents actually happening for you. Is it a high vibrational current, or is it a current that's causing you to devolve and be depressed?
Yes. And lack and poverty. All of those are frequencies that demonstrate that you are not putting your attention in the frequency in the direction of your abundance.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Well, one thing is that we have learned is that our DNA was hardwired for those frequencies.
Yes, ma'am. They
So-
were the hardwired. We were even hardwired with the worship gene too, which is foreign. It is foreign. It is not who we are. Okay,
Right. But you know what? This Aquarian age,
it's coming out.
hey,
That's right.
it's allowing us to put colloidal silver in the cellular
Yes.
makeup of the issues that are going on. Whereas, okay, I'm not hardwired anymore.
Yes.
I can see I can glimmer and not trigger.
Yeah.
I
And
can.
I'm free to move. I'm free to move.
I have free to move.
Mhm.
And like you said, I'm not scared. Oh, I better not do that. Just like, oh, better not go there. Like I woke up like 4:00 in the morning. I was like, man, I really want to ride my bike. But I was like, nobody rides. I was like, maybe it's too dark. These ideas of not to do it.
Yeah.
Oh, but why am I up? And then when I actually went, I was out there about 5:15 riding my bike. I saw the family of deers. I saw the baby.
Yeah.
So, every time I get up early, so it's just following the natural way of what's, looking
And
at
your circadian rhythm is going to put you on that frequency. That's right.
Yes.
When you're healthy like that, get up. We going. We doing something.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
I
honoring of
definitely
self.
Honoring of yourself.
Yeah.
And that's, as for a minute, then I started when I started learning that I wasn't honoring myself, I almost got mad at myself, like, man, you have not been honoring yourself for this long. But it's like you had to go through that.
Exactly. You have to.
You had to go through that to learn to appreciate.
To learn it.
That's right.
And then, we know that we're gods with amnesia. So everything that happened, every minute detail that happened on this thing we call Earth. I wrote it out. I need this to happen so I can go through this, and this gonna
And
happen.
learn this about me and learn this about me. And it's all about the remembering. Yeah.
And I can't know about it until this time, and
Yep.
then this starts. So it's just like when you look at it as, I call it Donkey Kong. So okay, and so when you take it like that, you're able to put joy into the experiences.
Oh my God, it becomes an adventure.
It
It
becomes an
doesn't
adventure.
happen the way that you want it to happen. You're like, oh, we're going this way. Okay. You
Right.
first say, go talk to that person. Huh? Okay, I'll go talk to him because that's what I was told. And that was an opportunity, a gift, a blessing. You would have missed it if you would have stayed inside of, I ain't doing that. I don't know what. Yes, all of that. But wait a minute. Here's the question that everybody wants to know. What are some of the ways parents can support their adult children in working through their traumas? Because remember, when we were growing up and we didn't realize we were having traumatic experiences until we got older. What happens when our children, our adult children, get older and then you start seeing some things? Okay, wait a minute. How do we support them? How do we help them address that without taking over and becoming responsible for it?
Oh, I can help with that one. My daughter is 26. She's 26 years old now. And we were at my mom's house. This was maybe like 2 or 3 years ago. And I don't even know what we were doing. And I was upset with my mom about something. I think I had said something to my daughter, and she was like, oh, like that time you tried to kill me. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm fussing about my mama. How you gonna fuss about your mama? Right? But so I had to and I was triggered. I wasn't glimmered, y'all. I was triggered because I already was triggered because I can't exactly remember what my mom, I think she had said something. I can't remember exactly, right? But something had happened. I was like, oh, this, that, I'm complaining. And my daughter's like, wait, but this is kind of like that time you tried to kill me. And I was like, wait, and I caught myself. And I was like, well, what time are you talking about? And so she goes into it. And you know what I did? I apologized. I held myself accountable. And I said, you know what? That's your experience. You're right. I knew exactly when she was playing. I knew exactly what she was talking about. And of course, I had I wasn't going to my reasons or whatever. But my mind said, no, you did that. She grew up in a violent home. We keep talking about you grew up in a violent home, but she did too. And she gets to honor herself in that space, and I get to hold space, and I get to hold myself accountable. And so the best thing you can do with your adult children is let them have their story. Let them say what they need to say. Communicate. Hold yourself accountable. Don't go into the defense. Them having their trauma is not about if you were a good parent, bad parent, good person, bad person. You've done some things. You don't have to hold guilt and shame around those things. You get to release those as well. And so when you hold yourself accountable and you have the conversations that you need to have with your adult children, then you both can grow and evolve in your relationship and in yourselves, right? And so by us having that conversation, it did allow for us to really, dig in, right? And I got to see oh shit, excuse my French, but I grew up a certain way, and my kids also did, because again, I knew what I knew. I created this energy ball, right?
Yeah.
And I dropped it in my house.
Yeah.
And so in order to heal that space, in order for her to be able to do the work she needs to do, I held the space. I held myself accountable and said, this is your story. No rescuing, which means no rescuing for myself, no defense.
Yeah.
No rescuing for her. I'm not trying to fix it. She has to deal with it. She chose me as her mom, right?
And that's powerful, what I'm hearing through and through and through, and what is a missing in our community is communication. We have to communicate and honor the communication. And you know how many of us grew up with the don't talk back and don't ask me no question and I don't have nothing to do with that. Literally, they can't be here now. That's not the lay of the land for us as people of color. I don't even like that term. What is the original, aboriginal? What's the term? What's the name? What's the name you said? But
Indigenous.
Indigenous.
indigenous, right? As indigenous people, we can no longer act as though we're not raising young adults. We're not, children are going to know, they're not going to be children the whole time. So
Hmm.
why are you treating them like they're children? You have to treat them to be responsible as soon as you possibly can. You know, unfortunately, because like me, I didn't have mother and father at the age of 5. I had to deal with life the hard way. But that's how life is. Why
Yeah.
are you coddling your children?
It's
We
better
let,
that way.
yeah, we let the whole society tell us that children are not ready for responsibility until the age of 18, and that's a lie.
There's
Yeah.
no way.
And Mook,
There's no
you
way.
said
But that is that's a setup. No,
Yes.
there's no way. That's just to keep people busy. It's not to cultivate the gift.
Leadership is
It's,
not to cultivate,
it's to
it's the
cultivate.
codependency. It
exactly.
creates codependency, is what it does. If you look at all the other cultures, they're saying at 12 and 13, you better get out there and figure out how you gonna live and how you gonna make a difference in the world. And we telling our kids, oh, what school you want to go to when you get 18? And we gonna give you all this money. Y'all don't see that that's a setup?
Yeah.
Well, of course,
And
it's a
Mook, you
setup.
just said something about communication. So
Yep.
one of the things, and my mom, this was so she might be watching. Hey, you watch, girl. My mom, when we was there too, she said, "You and your kids conversation, like they do a lot of back talk. I can't take that."
Mhm.
And I said, "No, mom, we have conversation." That's what she said. That your kids just talk back. And I said, "No, mom. What we do is we have
That's
conversations, right?"
right.
And so, and we have done a lot of healing the generation with my kids and my mom and me. So but yeah, we were taught in probably like like you and like older people that you don't talk back, right? And meaning
Yep.
you don't speak. Children like to be heard, not seen. If you say something I don't like or trigger me, you're gonna get punched in your mouth, you're gonna slap in the face, things like that. So
Knock down, whatever, right?
yeah. And
Up.
so when people are socially awkward and don't know how to have a conversation, conflict avoiding, poor communication, we're like, well, why this 45-year-old don't know how to talk to people? Well,
That's
because
why.
they didn't have a voice in their home. Why this kid always got a sore throat, right? Like I remember my first healed infection was a sore throat that I healed on my own because I didn't like medicine.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, this is not for me. But it was a throat infection, right? Like,
Open your
I
chakra,
probably,
baby. That's right. Spirit was like, listen, we working now. Here.
yeah. And so being able to like teaching our kids and having conversations, that having a conversation isn't talking back. If you're expressing your emotions, it isn't talking back. And yes, there's a way to do everything, right? And
Exactly.
with some guidance and things like that. But it's still like they should be able to get their point across, even if they're mad, even if they say, "Hey,
And
you
they
trying to
need to
kill me."
be able to learn. How else are they going to learn how to communicate anger, love, frustration, creativity if the
Exactly.
house says you just gonna do what I tell you to do?
Mm.
And for us, that's how I was raised. It was like you don't have any, this is not a democracy. You don't get a vote, that kind of thing. So
Exactly.
it's right. In our community, we really must develop our patience in communication with our young people because we are not there. We are not there. Even today, we are not there. And I keep hearing parents talk about disrespect, disrespect, disrespect. First of all, children only learn respect from being respected.
Yep, you have to give respect.
That's right. So if you think that it's okay for you to just open your child's door because this is your house and you pay the rent, I'm sorry, that's not respect.
Yeah, we've definitely, and I keep throwing this up. but it still exists, the Willie Lynch residue.
Yeah,
Just pitting age against one another,
yeah.
pitting anything that can look at any type of division,
Hmm.
create
Hmm.
unity. So as we look at that, we have to say, okay, if I'm honoring myself, I'm honoring everyone that's around me.
Yeah. No
Around
matter the age, no matter the color, no matter the race, because
age,
the respect of the real what do you call it, face of respect really is you.
self-love. And so
Yeah.
that was one that I wanted to add to
Hmm.
relationships that don't necessarily fall into the line of high elevation.
Yeah.
I think Kiana had gave us so many points, but self-love, when you don't have love for yourself, that relationship is not going to be right.
No.
Many relationships basically take on the toll of teaching you something. And
Hmm.
so if you're not learning the lessons in that relationship, guess what? You gonna meet that same person,
With a
you know,
different name.
with a different name. I can attest to it. I have one of my best friends in grammar school, and then a guy I dated. They both birthday is on June 27th. So it was just interesting, and that has happened a few times. And then once I got into metaphysics and spirituality, and like knowing that I wrote everything out, is just like the universe is bringing you that person again so you can relate to that person and get whatever spiritual lessons. So
Yeah.
I didn't had went through the lessons a few times,
Right.
but
Because
now
sometimes we miss it. Yeah.
you
Hmm.
missed it. So it's like that person comes again and say, okay, now I can understand how to change my energy when dealing with that situation.
Yeah.
Now I've able to level up
Right.
and dealing with, so I don't have any adult children.
But wait a minute. I gotta now. I have to change the direction because time. I got a timer, and it's like this is the so I want because I really want to address this.
Okay.
So I'm gonna change the direction. I know you don't have. I know who your baby is. but here's the next. I'm changing the direction, guys, and I'm sorry because
That's
time.
fine. I know time.
So I really want to get in this stream for a little bit before we end. What is meant when we actually say that everyone has both male and female energy? And once we define this, then we're going to go into it a little bit. But what is meant by everyone has male, and try to be succinct as possible so we can get through this conversation. So, what is meant by we all have male and female energy?
Okay, I'll go. So there's two energies, male and female. Creative energy, which is a feminine energy, male energy is the analytical, logical energy. So we're all left brain, right brain. Everybody has two spheres, right? We all have that. And so we all have creative energy, we all have nurturing energy, we all have logical energy, analytical energy, reasoning. And so we live in a society that really is masculine dominated. So we really focus on our left brain and working and 9 to 5 math, like those things, right? The reasoning, the creativity, singing, cooking, drawing, painting, poetry, right? Those creative spaces, making jewelry, those creative spaces, we all have those. And so we, male and female, we both do, and we both can sit inside of those energies and do some things. And some men may have more masculine energy depending on cosmic energies and things like that that you're born under. This that takes it to longer, but
Yeah.
you can have both. And a lot of times we especially in our world, in our culture, we are, like I said, masculine, left brain dominant, but we both have all energy, both energy.
Very cool. And then with that frame of reference you shares, how does a woman learn to sit comfortably and effectively in her masculine energy?
Well, I think with that, it all still goes back to knowing who you are. So
Mm-hmm.
you have to see exactly how that energy dictates for your life. And give you an example, just say, just say if you're single, right? And you don't have a male figure in your particular life. So you need that balance. So as you go through meditation, just say cutting your grass, something very simple, getting into the protective, you're protecting the grass or the crops within your the outside work,
Mm-hmm.
different things that are, stereotypical male. Those are the different things that can help you get into the energy. But when you get into the spiritual realm, there's no such thing as gender. But as Kiana noted, we have put labels on what's masculine, what's feminine, but it all is in, it continues to go in a cycle. We continue to go through masculine and feminine, whatever our energies dictate for those lessons at that particular time. So the creativity, being able to protect yourself, being able to honor your boundaries, that is a part of that masculine energy as well. Being able to express yourself um, fully without confrontation. That's a mixture of both of them. Um,
So,
express.
so yeah, and I know I'm being intentional here about the cutoff, so I'm not being rude. So forgive me. But so now, looking at that, how does a woman learn to sit comfortably in her femininity, Kiana?
So I really believe that women naturally want to sit in their femininity. It comes down to safety though and vulnerability, right?
Mm-hmm.
A woman, and we're talking about, I don't ask specifically for women, but for men too. For them to sit in their femininity, have to feel safe. Like that's a femininity is vulnerable, and it's a little more chaotic. But well, I guess it technically is chaos. But you
But the
have
feminine energy is
it's
chaotic. We
chaos,
have
right?
to
Like
say
it is
that.
chaos. So
Mhm.
you have to be comfortable with the chaos, right? You have to be comfortable within yourself. You have to feel safe. You have to create a safe space for yourself. So there's no shame, there's no guilt, there's no this, no that, because you have created a safe space for yourself. To sit in with someone else, they then create a safe space where you feel comfortable. But you first have to be able to do it with yourself so you can even know what's a safe space. Because it's one thing to be vulnerable, but it's another thing to be vulnerable with boundaries, right? And knowing that everybody cannot get this energy or this space with you, right? Like you have to protect that space, and that's where the masculine come in. But the femininity sit inside of that. You have to be yourself. You have to be okay with yourself. You have to not have shame for decisions that you made or things that have happened to you. A lot of women have sexual repression, sexual what do you call it, assault, right?
Mhm.
And so we take those things on as our own, and we have shame and guilt around those things, and that would definitely stifle your femininity. So you have to hold yourself accountable and do the work to release those things so that you can sit inside your femininity.
Yeah, and and I love what both of you were saying, and I want all of us to be clear that in order for us to even attract a divine energy, whether it's male or female, into our space, you have got to be clear about your forgiveness and your open heart. You have to be willing to know that vulnerability, knowing that you're not perfect, nor do you have to be perfect. Love is just love, it's not about perfection. However, it is about, we've said it 1,000 times, knowing yourself, self-awareness, self-love, and when you move into those things, self-worth begins to rise up. When you create that safety space for you, that means that anybody coming in your space feels safe, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
now let's look at the other side of that. How does a man learn to sit comfortably in his feminine energy? And this is really crazy because right now It's some shenanigans going on in our community, and we have got to be responsible as the grown adult folks to speak to the elephant in the room. Y'all got to stop this. So, how does a man learn to sit comfortably in his feminine energy?
Well, I like to take that. So, of course, how a man should be everything is about the femininity right now with the Aquarian age.
Mm-hmm.
So as that energy, the feminine energy, we missed the mark as far as capitalizing on that. However, society capitalized on it and put out what feminine energy should look like for men. And so that has brought in so many different distortions on how they should embrace the feminine energy. But just as we don't have to embrace it as far as what is considered normal. Feminine energy is creativity, being vulnerable, being caring, self-love for yourself, those different things to nurturing yourself, giving yourself a bath, going out into nature, you know, touching the sand, touching the water. Those things, when you get in touch with nature, it allows you to get into your feminine energy. So just like with females, for us, you have to sit with yourself to understand what that is. And so as you continue to, what's most important is eating right. Because if you're not eating right, if you're eating these meats, if you're in certain vibration, the feminine masculine energy is going to be distorted as far as what you should be doing with it. Because you're going to be getting downloads from the electromagnetic waves, especially if you're in the city. There's a sex spell that's being pumped out.
Hello.
That energy is just being pumped out. So if you're not able to protect yourself, you're getting bombarded with this misaligned feminine and energy that is not conducive for your elevation.
Mm-hmm.
So the main thing is to sit with yourself to understand what that energy is for you. No one can tell you that but you. And so that's why I stand with that. Everything goes back to knowing yourself and respecting and honoring your energy. But you have to know what your energy is first before you can do that.
Well, it's so interesting because there are some men that if you talk to them about male and female energy within themselves, they can't hold space for that conversation.
They got an X and Y gene.
But I'm just saying, well, and this is, the education system is not teaching the stuff we're talking about right here. That's
That's
part
it.
of the okey doke to keep people asleep because the education system is primarily what? Left brain.
Left brain.
It's gonna make you do all that. And then look, we had nerve. Y'all, we let them take music out of school, art out of school, even gym out of school. It's like, what did we do? And then we let them put in STEM. All STEM is left brain.
Mm.
Do you
Well,
see?
that's why we homeschool, those
Yeah,
that
this is if we could promote that amongst ourselves, when and talk about the importance, and this is why the feminine energy, whether it's in a man or a woman, is so important because we have to get back to what? Nurturing children and extending our families. That's the cure for us and our elevation. And we have to get back to creating that family that understands spiritual principles. I don't care about the church and all of that, but spiritual principles, knowing that the essence of who you are is fed to you, like you keep saying, you shares through the cosmos. It's
universal
fed
law.
every
Universal.
day. That's right. We're given that. Now, how do you increase your support your capacity as a woman? How do you increase that capacity to love, nurture, and support others without depleting yourself?
Hmm. I'm in the stage of mastering that right now. For the
Mm-hmm.
last probably 2 years, I was doing just that, depleting myself.
Yeah.
And so with realizing that, the universe gives you a real hard kick in the ass sometimes when you're not doing what you're supposed to do. So it went back to honoring my boundaries,
Mhm.
honoring why am I here on the planet?
Mhm.
Not can I have to, you know, give the tools, here's a manual, you have to do it yourself. And so allowing people to be accountable for themselves, namely, I have a 12-year-old daughter. So I think probably the biggest stress level, by being a homeschool mom was ensuring she has everything, so and then she was the inspiration for me to operate in a space of balance. So
Okay.
she can see me do it. You can talk all day long, but until she saw, I was like, wow, she's seeing me stress. She's seeing me pour into so much and not receiving what I feel. She see me in this state and I'm like, wait a minute, something has to shift because she has to see me in a space where it's evolving, not in a space that's not going to be conducive. So being able to set boundaries, being able to honor myself is something I say I'm single and not dating,
Okay.
in
Mhm.
order to continue to pour into self-love, into myself, and to teach others how to do the same.
I know that's something that Teresa Lugo said. She said single parenting can make us as females step right into that masculine energy and
Mm,
somehow forget our feminine energy until we allow ourselves to tap into it and nurture that within.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. So what would you say? Which would you say, Kiana?
I totally agree, but I hear something and I'm like, oh yeah, I don't do that no more. I don't live for nobody else to see my story. How they gonna see it, how they gonna see it. I don't care who it is.
Yeah.
So I literally quit. Like I literally was on the verge of like mental breakdown, and now my son triggered that one, and my daughter actually, my mom, everybody, my ex. I was like, you know what? Yeah, I can't do this. I don't want to do this. And I'm done and I'm out and I'm gonna see y'all later. And I
Yep.
left for a year.
Yep.
And got to know myself, got to be by myself for the first time in my life because
Yes.
I've never been on my own. I was with my mom, I mom, I had my daughter, then I
Yep.
got married,
Yep.
then I had my son. So it was like I never had lived by myself. And I lived by myself for almost a year. And I decided that I just wasn't doing anything. That I had quit.
And I'm
I
telling
had
you,
quit.
that was so wonderful to watch. You came out and visited me. I mean, it was just wonderful to
I
watch you. It was just,
I look, I
yes.
was like, I quit. And my kids will tell you she's totally different.
Yeah.
I'm like cooking my dinner. I'm like, oh, what y'all gonna eat? What we doing? Like when I tell you I don't pour at all. And
No.
my relationships
yeah.
are better because of it. So what
Yeah.
I do is I fill my cup, whatever runs off my saucer, and I got a big old cup too. So I mean my cup has to be, I don't have a multi cup. I got a big cup and I do have a big old saucer. Whatever falls off this saucer is for y'all. Y'all can have it. I would never tilt my cup again for anybody. And I don't care who sees the story, my kids, my niece, whoever, Al. I don't care, child, my clients, I'm never tilting my cup ever. I'm not tilting it. If I do
Ever.
anything, it's
Mm.
because it has poured off of my saucer into the world as it should.
Baby, you ask people to come over and visit me. They'll be sitting in my living room. It's 9:30, 10 o'clock. All right. I just slip on into my room, close the door, like did she go to bed? You know, you already know, It's like,
I
Listen,
know that was so funny. I was
I
like,
where
no,
did Mook
no,
go?
that's first.
I quit. I just quit, and it was the best liberating thing ever. I quit, and I was like, I'm only pouring into my cup, which means I have to maintain and raise my own vibration. If I'm minding my business and I'm doing that, everybody else is gonna be fine, honey. They just gonna be fine. They're gonna figure it out, or they not, and either way, it's okay.
Because you know what, and you all, the age of Pisces was what about the martyr. The age of Aquarius no longer honors martyrs. You are not here to sacrifice your life to make somebody else's better. Your value, your worth is just as important to the energy and the mission of this planet as it is the people you're nurturing.
Oh
So
my
you
goodness.
can't put their needs above your own and think that you're being clear. No.
No, no.
That's
And
that.
you're
That's
teaching
the
people
ultimate
how to
okie
treat
doke.
you.
Yes.
That's the ultimate okie doke, to think that you
Yeah.
have to brave heart it out.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's when you really think about it, it's just like, what is the purpose of that? There's so many different wag the dogs, matrix stories that have put us in such a blind spot. You can't be mad. You be like, oh, okay, you got us.
You can't be mad because really it's our wake up call. Because remember, again, many of us came here now with the intention of remembering who we are. But then we've been asleep so long, we're like, what?
Right,
This
right,
ain't
right.
it, and you can't spend no time worrying about that because you got stuff to do.
Got stuff to do.
Yeah,
Let me
stuff
take
to
a
do.
nap first and I'll be
I
ready.
know that exactly. I get my naps in 2 more. I'm gonna tell you that.
Honor thyself. Nap. Take naps.
Take naps.
Drink your water. Sit
Come
on a break.
on.
Sometimes I'll take a break. I used to just sit on my porch because I'd be working and doing all the things. And now I'll just sit out there. And my son came, he's like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm sitting getting some sun. And he was like, okay. But honor thyself.
In a heartbeat. And as we come to the close of day 4, can you all believe we are actually past the 8:30 mark? And I know I had to skip a couple of questions, but was there something that you really wanted to say that you didn't get to say before we close out? There's something that you really wanted to say that you didn't get to say before we close out. Who is that? Something that you really wanted to say that
Somebody's feedback.
you Shaz, do you have on another? Okay, there we go.
My bad.
Okay.
That was me.
All right. So as we come to the end, is there something that you really wanted to say that you didn't get a chance to as we come to the close of today?
Well, I did want to just close it out and just say, this trauma and relationships, it's about how you relate, how you choose to relate, and your emotions are like waves. You choose which one to ride. And so everyone that comes into our lives, we chose that relationship for whatever reason. And
At the soul level, absolutely. And
At
we
the
have to
soul
begin
level.
to honor that. We really have to begin to honor that. And I'm gonna let you continue, Shaz, but I really want to say this. When you guys say to people, oh, I don't like that person for you, you're interrupting. Okay, because the soul brought their souls have attracted them. Let it play out. Support was there. As soon as you say no, that doesn't work, that push people into people. So just let it play out and it'll get whatever lesson they needed to learn, it'll go quicker. Okay. So go ahead, sorry.
And whatever triggers that you have, those, and as you continue to do your shadow work, relationships are going to come to test whether you've been healed or not. And so every relationship is a school, it's a learning moment. And it might last 5 minutes, it might last 6 years, it might last a lifetime. However long it lasts, it is a moment for you to evolve and to experience joy. So as we continue to move in this Aquarian age, we're throwing away all the trauma and the triggers, and we're leveling up and glimmering in all our interactions. So I look forward to everything that's coming about, and we have to continue to manifest kindness in all our relationships, because what we do, we're able to pour in, and that's our responsibility. the most of the Master Force coaches, and I can probably say this with confidence, came in here to pour in for us to elevate. We're here for that purpose. So to everyone that's out there, just know that there's a better way to operate that's not resistance to your soul. So I just give thanks for this platform to be able to continue to pour love, to pour into the balancement of, because when everyone else is balanced, guess what? Mother Earth is balanced, and she take care of us all. And I
Absolutely. Absolutely. What's your last comment, Kiana?
So this has been a great conversation. And so I really want to say, like, relationships in totality, which I'm really happy that we spoke on different types of relationships, whether it's with your client, whether it's with your kids, your parents, right? Your husband, wife, spouse, spiritual partner. Um, it's all how you show up into the space. And so we have to know that we're constantly getting lessons, but remember that some of those lessons aren't all bad either. So one of the things I remember, my coach, he's a master force coach, 10. He had said, no, there's something for you to learn. And I was like, I don't want no more.
I want to learn nothing else.
I don't want to learn nothing else. I was like, I'm tired. I can't do this no more. And he was like, no, but you still have to learn love and kindness. And I couldn't understand it until now. But I was like, I was like, oh. And so when I got into a relationship, well, now I'm learning these things and I'm getting a different lesson. And I'm like, oh, this is, I'm still learning. I'm still getting lessons I'm supposed to get now at this stage, this age. And so don't shy away from relationships because of your trauma or your triggers or the work, because it is hard and it is ugly, like Will said. And there's been plenty of times I've cried and I was like, oh, why I gotta go over this?
No, yeah.
But you have to go through it, because when you understand the trauma and the pain and the shadow, then you can understand and appreciate the love and the light. So, they go together. So make sure you're not just trying to just always reach for the light and not take in the dark, because they go together, and you can appreciate the light so much more when you understand the dark and embody both.
Yes, that is so well said. And people like, why life have to be so hard? Well, you won't know it's easy unless you dig into the hard. How will you know? You won't have that. So now, just real quick, do either of you have any projects, programs, or do you want to tell people how they can connect with you in your next event or something? You want to let folks know how to reach you?
okay with me. You can inbox me via Facebook. I'm actually seeing clients based off referral. So I do consultation for people for their mind, body, and innovation. So I have a strong hold in helping small businesses elevate and be more efficient, and bring it up to a speed that is more conducive for their clients.
Okay.
And also, I just recently started doing frequency art. So if anyone is interested, these have been imbued with different affirmations. And so when you look at it, it actually aligns you into balance. So that's how they were designed. And I have a few more that will be. So those are available. And I also have a wellness app that will be coming in late fall.
Wonderful. And just know, if you can't get in touch with the coaches, you can always contact me and I can direct you to them. I can reach every single one of them. Okay. What about you, Kiana?
Yeah, I am on all the platforms. You can find me under Evolve with Kiana. I have a spiritual practice, so I do coach. I also read cards. I do card readings. So if you want any of those things, you just go to my website, www.evolvewithkiana.com, or one of the everywhere I'm involved with Kiana, y'all. And you can find me in any of those platforms. Say hey.
Yay. And I have to take the coaching of Teresa Lugo. So let me remind you that we do at Masterforce, we do offer a course called the Life Course. I'm not sure if we're going to do a certification, life coach certification this year, simply because my plate is full. My cup does runneth over. So, but you can participate in the life course, and we've broken it up into 4 different levels so that you can take one level for 4 weeks. You can get that information off of our website, masterforceleadershipacademy.com. Put a dash between each one of those. And also, we have a final night of Ignite Your Soul Connection tomorrow. And we're going to bring it all together, just like we started off with our brother King Osera 10. We're going to finish it with Osera 10, along with my amazing, supportive, loving, and beautiful niece, Alanda Gregory. I know she's just like, Auntie, please. I know, but whatever. But anyway, they're going to be here tomorrow night, and we're going to talk about creating spiritual groundedness. And I promise you, we have not been taught what it's like to be a spirit in this body. Okay, and this is how we stay strong through all of this chaos and this trauma, and how we set boundaries and take care of ourselves and learn to regenerate so that we can level up as we have birthdays, right, you shares?
Mhm.
We level up. So join us tomorrow night for the final session of Ignite Your Soul Connection. And also, again, Teresa Lugo told me to remind you that we have previous shows from the last 10 years on our YouTube channel, which is called Ignite Your Soul Connection. So you can go out there and learn so much stuff. We've been talking about this for a long time, and we probably did at least 3 shows on New Earth children. And we love the children. You will find out that we know that we're here to make sure that the children survive. That's why we hear people. You better quit saying they're your future and you're watching them die on the street and blame them for it.
Hmm.
Do you see that? We're watching our children die on the street, and the first thing we say is, they shouldn't be doing that. Well, who taught them that?
And
Okay?
why are they so angry?
And who created the anger? So let's get more responsible about what's going on with our children. And that's probably a whole nother, maybe we'll talk about that in December. I don't know, but okay. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for day 4. I believe this was amazing. For me, it was. I hope you enjoyed
Yes,
it
ma'am.
too.
Thank you.
We'll see you guys tomorrow night. Thank you all. Good night. You coaches stay right there.